In order to optimize brain function and slow down any neurodegenerative disease, cognitive decline in this instance, you have to make sure that your brain and neurons specifically are being stimulated in order to make mitochondria. These mitochondria are important. You should have learned about them back in grade school, and they taught us how they are the powerhouse of the cell. What exactly does that mean, though? Your mitochondria are responsible for creating ATP. ATP being the energy source that your cells require in order to operate and do their job. And so, as you can imagine, your neurons are pretty needy little things, and so they too are going to require our mitochondria to produce ATP in order to complete the task that they are responsible for. In fact, in this article, they state that mitochondria are uniquely poised to play a pivotal role in neuronal cell survival or death because they are key regulators of both energy metabolism and cell death pathways. They also state that extensive literature exists supporting a role for mitochondrial dysfunction and oxidative damage in the pathogenesis of Alzheimer's disease. So, dysfunctional mitochondria can lead to Alzheimer's disease and cognitive impairment. Makes sense, right? If my mitochondria are impaired, that would lead to a decrease in the output of ATP, or energy. And if that ATP is used to power my neurons, my brain's probably not going to work as well. So what I would like to do in this video is discuss why that our mitochondria may become impaired, and more importantly, things that we can do to help resolve that issue. First up, let's paint a little picture by using an example that you may have heard me use before. Think about how whenever you eat something, your body will take in the nutrients from that food, use whatever it needs to accomplish its goals, and then will excrete the rest as waste. Your mitochondria work in a very similar fashion. They take in a few things that they will use as nutrients in order to create ATP. And by the way, a lack of those nutrients that the mitochondria needs can also be a contributor to cognitive decline, but we'll cover that in another video. So your mitochondria takes in these nutrients in order to create ATP. And then just like you, will excrete any waste that is not necessary. Now, here's where things can fall apart. When your mitochondria excrete this waste product, it gets a fancy name. Kind of like how some people have a fancy name for their own waste products. But in the mitochondria's instance, they go by the name of superoxide radical. Now, just like how whenever you personally get rid of your own waste products, at least for most people, they would prefer if those waste products did not physically get on them. Your mitochondria are the exact same, although they're a little bit more dramatic about it. So when our mitochondria produces ATP, it also produces this superoxide radical. And in a perfect world or healthy environment, these superoxide radicals are quenched or essentially just taken care of through antioxidants. Think of antioxidants kind of like your commode. You flush that commode and everything's taken care of. You can get back to your regularly scheduled program. Now, imagine if you didn't have a commode nearby, or maybe we go back in time when there were none. Tying that into the mitochondria, when these superoxide radicals are formed, and there are no, or at least not enough antioxidants to take care of that superoxide radical, now it will come back and actually attach to the mitochondria. And this is why I said they're a little dramatic. When that superoxide radical attaches to the mitochondria, it destroys the entire thing. And going all the way back to the beginning of this video, if the mitochondria were to be destroyed, it can no longer produce ATP. And now whatever needed that ATP will no longer function as well. So if that ATP was destined for your brain will not function as well. So is there anything that we can do about this? Of course there is. I wouldn't be sharing this information with you if there wasn't. So in this article, they state that the mitochondria need constant protection from the toxic action of reactive oxygen species. That's the waste product that we spoke about earlier, as they constitute an important source. Low molecular weight antioxidants such as glutathione, vitamin E, or ubiquinone, as well as enzyme defense systems are responsible for providing this protection. So for me personally, when working with patients and trying to counter this mechanism, I'll make the recommendation to take and supplement glutathione. Glutathione is the body's master antioxidant, and in fact, in this article, they state that mitochondrial death only arises when the production of reactive oxygen species is high and or the levels of glutathione are compromised. So, moral of the story, when it comes to cognitive decline, in order to have a healthy brain, we need healthy neurons. In order to have healthy neurons, we need adequate levels of ATP. To have adequate levels of ATP, we need healthy mitochondria. And in order to have healthy mitochondria, we need to make sure that our antioxidant levels are high because that will help protect the mitochondria from their own waste products. Lastly, if you're struggling with cognitive decline and not sure what steps to take, I have put together a comprehensive guide that will walk you through a systematic approach on how I personally manage this illness with the patients that make their way into my office. Head on over to my website and you can download it for free.